but it looks like Jack Smith doing more what he does, which is filing these absurd lawsuits in an effort to influence the election. He should be ashamed of himself, and it's one of the reasons why we have to win, because he should not be anywhere near power.
Okay, that was J.D. Vance, Trump's running mate, accusing Special Counsel Jack Smith of election interference. Joining us now, RNC co-chair Lara Trump. Lara, wonderful to see you again. Thanks for joining us. It's good to see you. So, Lara, what was the reaction inside the Trump campaign when you all heard Jack Smith was still pursuing the classified documents case and the January 6th case against former President Trump? I mean, there's Justice Department norms of no DOJ action within 60 days of an election. It's 9 days away to early voting.
Yeah, well, should this surprise anyone? No, of course not. Look, I think before you went to commercial break, you're talking about the fact that you had the Supreme Court ruling that the student loan bailout was unconstitutional, and the Biden-Harris administration couldn't do that, and they're going to go right ahead and they're going to try and do it anyway. They seem to thumb their nose at the Supreme Court, and they don't really care what is told to them. They're going to go ahead and do whatever they please, and I think that's what you're seeing here. And I think when you heard Senator J.D. Vance there talk about election interference, that's what this is. There is no doubt about it. Of course, the goal here is to throw mud at Donald Trump yet again, to try and in the eyes of the American voter, look like something nefarious is going on. Maybe they can't vote for him. Maybe they should reconsider voting for Donald Trump. But I actually believe that the inverse of the intended is happening. And you saw it happen in the Alvin Bragg case in downtown Manhattan. Coming off of 34 felony counts, Donald Trump saw a bump in the polls. He saw epic and record-setting fundraising. And I think that the same will apply here. The American people need to be able to trust their institutions. And whenever they see that it looks like they are trying to put their thumb on the scale of an election, it is very concerning to the American people. And I believe they're going to push back.
So there's that, too. And what do you say to voters out there who are still upset about January 6th? Because we're seeing possibly Nancy Pelosi leaking footage to go after Trump from that day. I mean, criticism is, he didn't respond fast enough to the riot. He said he issued 2 tweets and a statement to stop it, starting within a half hour of the riot. And he offered the National Guard the days before the riot, but it was refused. We showed HBO footage, Nancy Pelosi admitting responsibility for not having the National Guard to protect the Capitol building. But what do you say to voters still upset about that day?
Well, let's be honest. This is what the Democrats have been running on for several years now. They have known that they had a weak candidate in Joe Biden. It's why they ushered him right out of this race and plugged Kamala Harris in. They have tried to get people to get worked up about January 6th. Donald Trump that day said peacefully and patriotically, make our voices heard. To your point, he offered the National Guard to Nancy Pelosi. It was on her shoulders to accept it, and she decided not to. There is no evidence whatsoever to have any indication that Donald Trump had anything to do with what happened. They have tried to make it the #1 concern of the American people. The problem is that the American people can barely make ends meet in the Biden-Harris days. And they know that the 3.5 years they've had with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in the White House will be even worse if they put Kamala Harris in as president. They're worried about putting food on the table, paying for gas, their national security, a southern border wide open, while Kamala Harris, as much as she wants to deny it, was the border czar for the past 3.5 years. That is the main concern of the American people. And I think when push comes to shove, people at the end of the day go in a voting booth and they know who made their life better, not harder. It was Donald Trump. So try though they might to shove this down the throats of the American people, I don't necessarily know that it's going to be their #1 concern.
People go into the voting booth and say, they vote on saying to themselves, what are you going to do for me? I mean, they're running still on January 6th and not Bidenomics. Yeah. I mean, it's the same 4 charges that Jack Smith is reviving. That, basically he's trying to keep it in line with the Supreme Court's ruling, reinforcing that former President Trump does have presidential immunity. And they could still cover the charges Smith is again bringing. I mean, Jonathan Turley also pointed out Trump's communications with Mike Pence, members of Congress, all covered by the immunity ruling. Let's listen to J.D. Vance on this. Watch what he says.
And yet, Jack Smith tried to redefine Mike Pence as from the vice president to the running mate, as if somehow changing those words in an indictment undercuts the fact that Mike Pence is still the sitting vice president, and it still directly implicates the president's official acts. The reason the Supreme Court threw out his lawsuit is because they said it implicated the president's official acts, of course, which the president has immunity in conducting those official acts.
Yeah, and Justice Clarence Thomas of the Supreme Court and Judge Eileen Cannon says his whole office is unlawful and unconstitutional to begin with. He was never confirmed by the Senate, and he's getting appropriated congressional funding that Congress never signed off on. So when you look at your internal polling inside the Trump campaign, what are voters saying about all this?
Well, so far, like I said, I think that we've seen the history of these sorts of things actually go to favor Donald Trump. You know, that whenever they see this one man being continually attacked, 4 indictments, a mugshot, my gosh, an assassination attempt against him, people start to look at it and they say, if, you know, the big government people are against this guy, maybe I want to join up with him. And while we don't have polling on this exact thing because it just happened, I believe that is going to be reflected in the next round of polling. I believe the fact that you have Kamala Harris on the other side, who has yet to sit down for an interview, has to have, you know, a safe space and her running mate to be with her for any sort of a sit-down interview coming up, is going to reflect very poorly on her. What the people care about in this country is the economy, is our southern border, is crime through the roof, is, you know, our standing on the world stage. And they know who can deliver that for them, who did it the first 4 years he was in office. It's President Donald J. Trump.
Lara, were you, just final question, when you saw the Democrat National Convention, not a word said about the assassination attempt that almost took the life of former President Trump. Nobody said anything about it. What was the word inside the campaign about that?
Yeah, I think it's egregious. I mean, it's sort of disgusting. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. And no matter what they try to say about Donald Trump, he too is a human being. He's an American. He put his life aside to run for president the first time. He's put his life literally on the line this time. It would have been nice to have some acknowledgement of that. But the fact that their entire convention was about emotion, vibes, and hating Donald Trump, it's probably not surprising that they didn't mention it.
Lara Trump, come back soon. Don't be a stranger. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank
Coming
you.
up.